Welcome everybody to the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today we're going to go pretty deep spiritually. We're talking to your soul. So when I talk about the soul, I have a very specific thing in mind, and so I thought it's probably worth me saying because it's sort of definitional, and if you don't agree that that's what the soul is, that's fine, it's not a problem. You can just look at it as what would your sort of spiritual path on a very long range perspective want to say to you, like what would that tell you? So you don't have to accord with what I believe about this, but I see the soul as the distinct and individual part of you that existed when we first all splintered out from the divine and will exist throughout time and throughout lives until you return to the divine at the end of the karmic cycle. So my belief obviously builds on the concept of multiple lives. So again, if you don't believe in that, it's fine for you to just look at this at various levels of immediacy. And when we go through the tarot part of it, I'll talk through how that could operate if that's your belief structure. But in any case, this is getting to what I would call the most long-range view of your development. And I often say I actually talk to your soul if I do a spirit path reading for you, if you come to me for that. In terms of a private reading. And I often say that this long range vision is a little bit impersonal because if you think about it across many lifetimes, you can learn just as much being someone who goes through trial and adversity as someone who's born into privilege. Often maybe you can learn more, in fact, with the former than the latter, but in any case, all things go towards a complete sort of sense of opportunities for you to develop in your particular developmental path and how that is important for the divine and the collective overall. So what we're going to do at first is we're going to get a bit of a sense about what the long-range feeling or theme may be by looking at connecting a theme energy here. I'm using the White Owl Mystic deck and I ask Spirit to bring forward 3 cards, one for each pile, that talked about part of the theme of what's sort of key right now in your soul. We've got archetype energy, we've got some past life cultural energy to get a sense about some key past life or cultural or genetic or ancestral energy, again, if you don't believe in past lives. So we've also got that to look at and also some advice and energy from the Tree of Life. So we're going pretty broad on a theme. Then we'll use tarot to look at the longest range, what this all means for this life and what it means for right now, and then some other advice to alchemize and make the most of your opportunities now. So, as always, you can go to more than one reading if you want. There could be more than one sort of message from your soul, so that's perfectly fine, or some amalgamation of the two. But to help with that, as I say, I did ask Spirit to give me a really high-level theme for what your soul would want to talk about. So for pile number 1, we have Metatron's Cube. For pile number 2, we have the archetype of the Maiden. And for pile number 3, we have the archetype of the Guardian. So those sort of images, those sort of concepts may draw to you. As I say, you may be drawn to more than one. It's perfectly fine if that's the case. When you know what reading or readings you want to go to, as always, I've got the timestamps in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So you came to the reading with Metatron's Cube. So Metatron is the archangel, the kind of like the divine scribe, archangel connected to Keter in the Kabbalah or Tree of Life, and we actually have 2 other archangels of the Tree of Life. So there's a very strong angelic energy around you in terms of your soul. We could have come up with some of the emanations or the Sephiroth of the Kabbalah here, so it could have been personality aspects, but it's very interesting. You've got a very high power energy here, your soul is saying, around connection to the divine realms and to the angels and so forth. And when we look at Metatron, Metatron is, as I say, the divine scribe. So Metatron's cube is the sort of balance and the perfection of the narrative. So your soul wants to talk to you about the narrative that you are creating in your experience. Certainly with these 2 representations of past lives, there's a sense of many past lives going back a long way, and that would make sense with this sort of archangel sort of energy around you. We have here a lifetime in Yugoslavia, potentially, around earth goddess types of religions. And this could be anywhere from 400 BC to the present. I suspect it's one of your earlier lives. This is one that then came after it. This is really connected to myths, legends and poetry, which I think may be part of the sense of the divine scribe. So I think that those who've come to this reading, there's something about your soul that is poetic, that is expressive, that the storyline and the narrative is very, very important, and you have a deep sense of myth and mythology and so forth. Very courageous, very resilient, many lifetimes, as I say. Similar energy here around courage and so forth. This is representing early Christians, so anything from AD 40 to 325. I do feel this followed this for most of you, but for some of you, because this could be up to the present day, it could be sort of something more recent, and this might be earlier. But in any case, it's very much this sense of very ancient lifetimes. What is interesting, though, one of the things that these have in common, because this is about the sort of the divine, the connection to the divine, again, the angelic realms, all of the sort of Christian hierarchies and so forth. So I think whether or not you identify as a Christian now, I think that there's a strong sort of Christian underpinning to some of your soul's journey, is that both of these talk about self-sacrifice, and this one can tilt almost to martyrdom. Now, what is interesting is that your archetype is the fault line. I think your soul wants to talk to you about this, wants to say that you operate at a very high level around connection to the tree of life, to the connection to the archangel realm, Metatron, as I say, around the narrative, and you have had many lifetimes and connected to the mysteries. Raziel is connected to Chokmah. So Metatron is with Keter, which is the first Sephiroth, or the divine essence. Chokmah is the next one down, the undifferentiated intellect, and it's all about the mysteries. And I think you may well have been connected to sort of mystery schools, connected to early Christian thought with this sort of connection. But we've also got Gabriel, who is down in the ninth Sephiroth with Hesod, which is the connection to the earth. And there we have the Earth Mother. So as the depiction of these sort of like the kind of earth energy. So there is a real balance in you between the incredibly sort of like potentially self-sacrificial and very ascetic sort of mystical, mystery traditions, and what you bring as a message to the earth and your connection to the earth. And I think that your soul wants to think about, is there a divide occurring here for you? Because I think part of what you're meant to do with the narrative is integrate both those energies. As I say, the ascetic mystic with the earth connected prophet almost sort of energy here. But I think your soul wants you to feel that you've almost kind of divided your lives and divided your attention. And in this life, depending upon who's come to this reading, there may be a tilt to one or the other more than the other. So you either may be very much into the sort of mysteries, the sort of like the religious sort of doctrine, the magical doctrine, all of that kind of thing, or you may be, no, I'm with the earth and I'm with what's happening materially and I'm with bringing a message to that. And this is what your soul is wanting you to think about, is how do you balance those two? Because your story is a balance of both. You can't separate one out from the other without losing some of the potency of what you're meant to do in your spiritual development. So given that, let's have a look at what tarot can tell us. So we're going to look at 3 levels of perspective, as I said. So if you don't believe in past lives, and these are just more maybe kind of ancestral energies or spiritual energies that you may be able to relate to, then think of this as the most long-range view of what you're doing through to the mid-range view through to right now. But what I'm talking to those that have a similar view as me about multiple lifetimes and the sort of individual spark that is the soul, I'm asking first, what is the long-range arc of your spirit path? What would your soul want to tell you about that? We've got the Hanged Man. Oh, yeah, there's something about sacrifice with you. Queen of Wands reversed. Knight of Wands reversed. Knight of Cups. Two of Swords reversed. Okay. Now, as I said at the beginning in the introduction, one of the things I say about the soul when I read in private readings around spirit path is that I feel that it sometimes may almost feel a bit impersonal because it is part of you, but it is so long range. Your soul is saying right now you have an incredibly beautiful open heart, but you have limited some of your own creative energy and your own decisions and your own moving forward within almost what you think you should do. So it's hard for you to make a decision following just your heart if you feel it gets in the way of what you should do, or you feel that it's egotistical. You sacrifice so easily. Now, in many ways, that can be very profound spiritually, and it certainly brings you to a very spiritually profound level. In some ways, whatever sacrifices you've done have accelerated you and have connected you very much to the angelic realms. But your soul is saying, in doing it, you've actually not progressed your narrative as much as you could have. You've got to return to your heart. This is what's going to balance these things between the sort of very mystery school, aesthetic, mystical, and what you are in the world. There's something about your narrative and you've been suppressing it. So you've sacrificed yourself rather than followed that. But your heart is still beating very strongly. It's just that it stops you making decisions. So your soul wants you to have a think about what you sacrificed of yourself and how you've held yourself back creatively. This is why you have Metatron's cube. That's why you were drawn there. Metatron, as I say, a divine scribe. It is time for you to start to say, maybe you've sacrificed enough. Maybe you need to follow your heart and not be worried about the decisions associated with that. Maybe you need to be more in your own creative energy. It's time for you to do that, because this is, otherwise with the fault line, something is going to give. Something is going to fall away. You're meant to be balancing both of these. And it's your creative energy and what is true to you that is the thing that could do it, pole one. So let's see what in this life then is key to this. Like in this particular life, if over many lives you've been very self-sacrificial and maybe not told your story when you could have told your story because you felt that the spiritual path is more about sacrifice and almost martyrdom. Some of you may literally have been martyrs, I have to say, in some of your lives. This is pretty significant. So how is this impacting your current life and the arc of this whole life? The Fool, the Ace of Wands, the creativity wants to come out. That's good to see. The Seven of Wands reversed. Death, the Choice. Now, I think death to some degree is also showing the many lives again, because both of these talk about kind of like an acquaintance with death and life cycles and all of that kind of thing. But in this life, there is a key choice coming. The choice that you've avoided for a long time, by putting everything else first rather than you, there is a new direction now. You have to, because this is not going to sustain you over time. There is a very strong creative energy meant to come through, and you're meant to find the courage to do this. And spirit is not, or your soul is not having a go at you. Your soul is not saying, that you are not courageous enough. In fact, there's a lot of resilience in this energy that you bring in. It's just that you have deferred towards the courage that denies you and supports others. And now you are meant to make the decision to go on your journey, because that is the thing that will deal with this issue. That is the thing that will give you the uprush of creative energy to now start to do your own narrative. I'm getting that for some of you, in a number of these lives, either in terms of social or religious groups or even in families, you have had a lot of a protective role on others. And it's a beautiful thing that you've done it. But this time around, the best thing you could do for yourself and for others is to follow your creativity and not feel that you should continue to suppress that energy. This life, you're meant to be creative. This life, you're meant to take new pathways. This life, you're meant to be able to make choices that are about you. It is not selfish, pile one. So let's see then what in this moment, this very moment that your soul thinks, this the time that you're seeing this reading, the few weeks before, the few weeks after, the very immediate time frame, what does your soul think you most need to see and concentrate on? The Hermit, the Page of Cups reversed, the Page of Pentacles. Okay, I think this is saying for most of you that you've tilted more towards this line than this line, because this is saying that the denial, or it could be actually saying a little bit of both. It could be saying you can do both, but it's through your heart that you do it. And my gut feeling is that for most of you, you have tended to go towards the Hermit, towards the spiritual, towards the self-sacrifice, towards all of those things. It's almost as though to go after the material felt to be too selfish. But you have this earthy quality as well. You have this capacity to do things in the material world. The thing that you need to focus on now is, what would you love to do? because you can balance these two. It's through your heart, but you haven't been listening to your heart. You've been listening to some sort of doctrine, I think, over a number of lifetimes that, and you've kind of inculcated this sense that to go after what you love, what you care about, what you're passionate about is somehow ego-based and not of the spirit. But this is saying that if you reacquaint yourself with your heart right now, you'll see the way to balance these two. You'll see that the light that you shine from this side is the thing that actually helps materialize what your life path is and what you can bring to others. So there's very much a sense of go through the heart to get to the material. But you have the light of your spiritual development. So let's see what support you are going to get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 3 archangels, and for each archangel as we go through, we'll see what energy they're bringing, but then we're also going to see with the Lucky Potion Oracle what kind of alchemical energy they want you to focus on. So we're doing it 3 times for the current life and for the energies coming from the 2 others. So firstly, for the current life, and we'll put this in the center, the archangel, on top of the ones that you already have, is Zavkiel. So this is kind of very scorpionic, very much life and death again. You definitely have had a lot of lives. This is all about sort of the regeneration, the rebirth, and so forth, going through those sorts of processes. This is you coming to terms with those patterns so that you can be reborn, so you can be the fool moving forward to make the choices that are good for you. So let's see what the alchemical energy is that Zavkiel wants you to focus on. Containment. Okay, so Zavkiel might be saying that fault line needs to be contained in this current life, and you need to contain some of your tendencies towards self-sacrifice so that you can move forward to create something. It could also be to contain both elements through the heart to bring about what you want. What we're going to do is we're going to roll the dice. Now this dice for this energy tells us whether or not Zavkiel wants you to drink of containment, really take that in fully, really think about what you could contain to really bring about the repair of the fault line and the balancing here. Or it could be that you're meant to share, and so you're not meant to do this alone. You're meant to sort of actually find other people to connect with. Or it could be that you're meant to spill it, which means that, in fact, you've contained yourself too much in things and you need the breakthrough. So the dice says drink. Okay. So there is something you need to, this is why the Page of Pentacles is so strong here. You are meant to start to have the breakthrough that brings in the material outcomes for yourself. This is why I've kind of had that sense, I think, that although this could go either way with where you're sitting, I think most of you have tended to be very much in the spiritual side, and you're actually meant to contain some of that and bring it into the material. So this is a very material decision to make, and it's looking at the patterns of life and death and the things that you've done in other lives and what the narrative is. What it actually makes me think of with Metatron's cube, with the sense of a narrative, is that if we were to sit down and write our life story or our soul story, at first we would probably have so much to write about, it would be hard to structure it. I feel like this is the structuring that you do to bring the story into a proper narrative, and that's where you'll find the balance. So really not being afraid of that. This is not limiting you. This is actually to give you a structure that allows you to explore it properly. Okay, the second archangel energy for you is Sokred Hosi, which is all about balance, just as you can see there. Balancing the balloons, flight, being on the tightrope, being able to actually balance everything, bring it into alignment and so forth. So there's something, again, it's about balance. Nothing is wrong with either of these things, but if you've had a tendency in both those environments to put yourself second, then you're not following and containing your energy, and you would tend to tilt more towards the more self-sacrificial side. So this is all about bringing stuff into balance, particularly materially, I think, into balance. So let's see the alchemy energy your soul wants to talk about. Inevitable. Okay. So I think this is your soul talking to you very, very specifically about this is not something that you can put off any longer. That fault line was there. It's inevitable the fault line will start to give if you don't do what is necessary. It's important. You can't ignore this any longer. If you somehow separated out your material world and your spiritual world, and you have a tendency from your spiritual world to kind of feel like you can't go after too much in your material world because that would be somehow non-spiritual. It's out of balance and it's going to cause a fault line in what you're meant to achieve. So this is about understanding the inevitable importance of balance. So let's see whether or not you're meant to really dive into this, whether you're meant to share that with others or whether you're meant to spill it and see what's left when you understand this has come to this point for a good reason. Okay, this is meant to be shared. You can see the 2 bottles. So don't do this alone. You are facing something that's inevitable, but you do not have to do it alone. It's like connecting with others and connecting with the world. So this is you can't be the mystic sitting on a mountaintop. You need to connect with others as well. Okay, and then a 3rd archangel around what your soul is saying to you at the moment, pile 1. Fuel. This is clearing it all out. This is actually taking a bit of a break. This is about getting back to your heart and what is reviving for you. Like if you've got things into balance and you've got the right connections and you've contained and you have a sense of how you do this, this is meant to give you a sense of release and relief. It could be saying be near water, use water, Epsom salts, baths, all that kind of thing could be helpful for you. This is about releasing energy and releasing that which was holding you back. Let's see the alchemy energy around that for you. Confrontation. Okay. You have to confront your heart. I think fuel, water, energy. I don't think it's necessarily confrontation with others, but you have to confront your heart. And what have you been giving up, pile 1, to feel spiritual? Because it's a false paradigm for you. The real paradigm is meant to be able to contain and move forward and create, but you have to confront this first. You have to confront what needs to be washed away. Let's see whether you do it alone, whether you drink it in, or whether you need to spill certain things emotionally to get there. Okay, drink it in. Yeah, drink in the confrontation. Do not avoid it any longer, pile 1. You've done it because you are a beautiful soul. And you are really, it did accelerate your development, your connection to the upper realms, but there is stuff that you're meant to create here. So you have to confront that. You have to confront what was the emotional debris that you've carried through the lifetimes and through the years that has made you do this. You need to wash that clean and confront it full on and see it for what it is. It's a weird form of shadow, which is self-sacrificial shadow, as opposed to sort of the ones we normally think about, which is sort of being selfish. So I think there's a very strong message here. You're meant to take control of that narrative, but you have to confront the emotional underpinning of this. What made you feel that was what you needed to do? How do you confront that and drink that in? Okay, so given that we've looked at the alchemy, we're also going to have a look at what the stars can tell you, and then we're going to bring a unifying force through for you. So if we know that your soul really wants you to bring these things into balance and write your own story that is both material and almost prophetic and also spiritual, what stars can help guide you? 3rd house, yeah, communication. You're meant to tell a story. You're a storyteller. Right from the beginning, we've seen this. You're meant to have that creativity. And, it may be that the way to confront this, I'm feeling, is that you could tell it as a story. It's almost, you could be one step removed from it and, write a poem, write a short story, write a novel, and you actually start to confront these things in that form. You could also prophetically bring in the balance that you need and so forth. But communication is key here. Sun, and getting back to your life path and your creativity. Where you have your sun may tell you something about how you can balance the spiritual and the material for you. So, for instance, if you had your sun in Taurus, that could be that is through creating sort of healthy, good, enjoyable life that you actually start to bring things into balance and being a bit stubborn when you need to be. If it's in Scorpio, it may be really diving deep, getting into what is intense and passionate for you and so forth. And Sagittarius, freedom. Yeah, there is. You do need to be free. Sagittarius is so incredibly spiritual and so incredibly philosophic, but it's almost, there's a degree to which when we go so high on that level, we can get so detached that we've actually lost soul of our own, or sight of our own soul's progress. So this is about freeing you up and bringing in again that kind of creative energy, the sort of passion energy, communication, and your life path. Okay, so to finish off pole 1, since I think the message from Spirit is pretty clear, we just want to get a card from the secret language of light for a unifying principle for you. Create space. Well, there you go. Create space to bring the balance, because you have to. This is something you can't sort of like turn away from anymore. Create space to allow the mysteries and the energy to come through for your rejuvenation and your rebirth. Create space to confront the emotional stuff. That's all you really need to do. You've kind of put, I think, everybody else first for a little bit too long. And as I say, while that's incredibly admirable, your soul now needs you to focus on what is your true gift that you could bring, which is this beautiful high-level spiritual connection with being able to tell the story that has a material impact and outcome for yourself and for others. So I hope that resonates for you, pole 1. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pole 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Maiden, which is, of course, a archetype or an energy of sort of renewal, new growth, innocence, and so forth. You've got here from the Tree of Life 2 angels. One is Leliel, the angel of night, which is about the things that are hidden in the night and also finding the starlight in the night. And then you also have Israfel, the angel of song, which, a bit like the concept of the Archangel Gabriel sounding the horn at the end of times, there is a kind of a warning but also a promise within Israfel's song, which is about something ending and something beginning. Something ends so that something can begin in actual fact. And music and beauty and the numinous is very much part of this. So it is as though there is a return to innocence in your soul's journey at the moment, a return to the beginning, the great mother, the great beginning, who you were right at the beginning. It's like there is a kind of a clarion call around that for you to reconnect you to the numinous and to your very profound psychic abilities, because it's very interesting, the 2 lifetime energies that are being highlighted by your soul here. One is in Persia, which can be anything from 600 BC up to AD 682. This is a particular religious and spiritual heritage which is very romantic, that looks to merge with the divine through romance. It is very strange, beautiful, numinous, very much within the sort of liminal space, but very much of the heart. And there's a kind of an innocence that verges upon the hopeless romantic. Then you also have a lifetime here that seems connected to First Nations or similar sorts of tribes, First Nations in Australia, which are deeply psychic, deeply connected to ancestral energy and history and so forth. Highly psychic, as I say, and knowledge is gained through the dream time, so through the night and through the numinous. So I feel that your soul is talking to you about almost a prophetic sense you have coming of a renewal, something new, something that is now moving out of your life that needs to fall apart, almost like a tower moment, but not necessarily. This can be quite gentle, so it's not necessarily harsh. But you have a sense of it already, and you know this new beginning, this new life comes from it, and it's reconnecting you to the kind of numinous liminal spaces that you are very, very well acquainted with and very, very comfortable with. Now, whenever I see the Maiden too, I think of Persephone. So there's this sort of liminal spaces that are both sort of in the upper realms and also potentially in the underworld for you. But in either case, there is a sense of beauty around it and music around it and something new that is created. So let's see what, given that sort of heritage, and these lives could have happened in either order. That could have been the earlier one or that could have been the earlier one. But there's a real sense in both of them, as I say, the psychic, the numinous, and very much something about love. So your soul may be wanting you to focus on love at the moment, a romantic love in some way. Let's see a little bit more about it. Let's see what the long-range arc of your spirit path is using tarot. Two of Pentacles, Three of Pentacles reversed. Yes, there's a choice to let something go so that something new can come through. Wheel of Fortune, and it is a good thing to come through, even though it may feel like there's some wasted effort or something associated with it. Seven of Pentacles, something that is going to grow and build, grow and build and return on investment. And Two of Cups, something that has to do with love. Okay, so I do think there's something, if it's not romantic love, though I think for many of you it might be, it may be love for a new business venture, love for some sort of material thing that you're bringing into being. There's a great deal of luck around it, even though it may feel like, oh, it's not steady when it first happens, when the choice comes and you have to look at it. But your heart is the connection. Connections to others are important. And this is something in the long range arc of your soul, you are meant to be, heading towards love. You are meant to grow something from that love. You are meant to make the decisions that are necessary to almost prune back and move on. And you're meant to have a really strong sense with this numinous thing around what is coming, a kind of a sense of prophetic understanding about what's coming. So you tilt towards love and you tilt towards growth, possibly also towards family, but it doesn't have to be family, but it certainly is love, and there is growth, and there is what will build and grow, and you tilt towards a prophetic understanding of the nature of time and sort of growth, birth, growth, and then the decay that allows for the new growth coming through. So let's see what in this life is really key. Page of Wands, Ace of Pentacles, the Hanged Man reversed, the Fool reversed. Okay, so the key thing for you, there is something in terms of passion and I think love that you are meant to bring in. There could be a child with the Ace of Pentacles, or it could be a new home, a new family lineage that you start on some other sort of level, new love. But there is definitely something passionate and something that is meant to grow. This is the womb. Some of you, this may be very much about the important thing of this life will be the children that you have. Not because you are not important, but because it is your love and your capacity to grow. This is one of the most beautiful ways that you could actually express it. But if it's not that, then I think it's about looking at what growth will be and what you want to do next with a different perspective, knowing so much from past lives. You are heading back towards the innocence that allows new growth to come in, but you are not naive. So it's not like you're going into this without understanding what's going on, and you have that very strong connection to the liminal spaces to bring through the passion and so forth. But this life, there is something that is meant to be born. And so whether it is, as I say, a great love, whether it's a child, whether it's a business, there's something like that. You're doing something differently to the other lives. It's a bit more material. It feels like quite a few of the lives have been very psychic, spiritual, and as I say, in the liminal spaces and so forth. But this is different, but you are meant to be bringing something into being in this life. So let's ask what's most key right at this moment. When you're hearing this reading, the few weeks before, the few weeks after, what does your soul really want you to focus on right now? Page of Cups, love. Love is a big thing here. The Devil, okay. Three of Cups. The soul wants you to know you may have been in some relationships that felt, because you were maybe a bit of a hopeless romantic in this and other lives, you may have been sometimes in love relationships that were entrapping you and like obsessing you. So your soul right now wants you to define what you want in terms of heart, because the energy is coming through. Define that. Define passion with the Page of Wands. Define the heart with the Page of Cups. This will bring the celebration in rather than the entrapment. So this is, you are not hostage to fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is upright. You have that capacity to see what is coming from being in the liminal spaces, and you're not naive. But you do need to define what you want to bring that in so that you're not entrapped in looking for what you want. So you're highly sensitive and highly caring. And I think there is something very specific about love or passion or some passion project or something that if you define it well, you'll celebrate. If you don't, you could get caught up in an obsession around it. So Spirit wants you to sort of understand the power and the energy around this, and that some things will have to be released to bring this in. because that was the energy with the angel of song as well. Okay, so let's get you some other support. So what we're going to do is we're going to get you an archangel, 3 different archangels, 1 for right now and 2 that kind of connect with the energies from other lives, and what they're bringing to you in terms of their energy, and also some alchemy advice for you. So firstly, around this life, which is where you're bringing something into being, where you're literally birthing something beautiful. Radiuriel, which is all about creativity. So this could be, as I say, a child, but it could be a creative, beautiful, romantic. You could be an incredible, with the angel of song, you could be an incredible musician, and you're meant to sort of birth something very beautiful in with that. Maybe things that you've been doing before haven't quite worked. You're meant to let that go so that you can bring this in. This particular archangel here is being portrayed by Oscar Wilde. That's the kind of like earthly person that's been shown as a bit of an energy around this sort of creative genius. So it's definitely saying there is a creative genius around you that you are meant to connect with. So let's see how to alchemize that energy, I'll too. And if you are in love, then your romantic songs, romantic poetry, any of those sort of things, you definitely would beguile incredibly with that. Okay, the alchemy. Necessity. There's a necessity to this. This is destined, whether it's destined love, destined business, destined creative project, destined child. There's something about necessity. Now, what we do with this particular deck is we roll a dice that has either that you drink that energy in completely, you spill it to work out what you keep, or you share it with another. So we're just going to see in terms of understanding the necessity of this creativity. What is Radriel asking you to do? Drink it in. Know that this is your destiny. Know that this is your time. Trust it. Trust your creativity. Trust what you're getting from the liminal spaces. There is something very important, something very precious. It's actually interesting. I've been doing some readings recently with Pick a Cards and with this collective where I felt with some of you, you are looking after something very precious. So this may be, the same people might be at this reading. It might be, again, it's very key to your soul. Okay, let's see what you get in terms of the hopeless, romantic, beautiful sort of energy from ancient Persia. Show me, of course you're going to get that, the heart. The connection to the heart. So again, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful energy. You've got a lovely heart. So let's see what the alchemizing energy your soul wants you to think about in relation to the heart. Shamiel is all about the heart and the romance and love. Knowledge. So understanding this is the thing with the Fool reverse, knowing that in this life you aren't coming into this blind. You have the innocence in some way to bring in the heart, but you're not so innocent that you don't have the knowledge of what all this means. Let's see what Shamiel wants you to do in relation to knowledge. She wants you to spill it. She wants you to actually spill the knowledge that you have, all the thoughts and feelings that you have about love or whatever this passion is that you want to create. Spill it out and work out what to keep. What is still worth taking forward? What is going to help you? And what is of the past? What should be washed away with the angel of song? Okay, and one more archangel for you, pile 2. Sandalphon. Oh, look at that. Music. Portrayed there with music. He's all about healing and grounding and making sure that what you do comes into real being. So this is the sort of sense of the Pentacles energy. But I do think there's something about music, or how music connects to your spiritual knowing. You may be sort of someone who, when you meditate, music really takes you to the liminal spaces. Let's see what Sandalphon wants to sort of say to you alchemically. Intuition, to connect with your intuition. Through music, through meditation, through guidance, through all of that sort of stuff. You really do know what you're doing. You have the knowledge, but you can work out what knowledge is going to suit your heart. You know what the creative necessity is. Now you can use your intuition and song and music in some way. Let's see how he wants you to look at intuition. Again, spill it. Look at it properly. Really believe it. Like, I think that you've spent many lives, as I say, in the dream time, in the liminal, and maybe you don't entirely trust it. There's something about connecting to your intuition, grounding it and trusting it, understanding the necessity of what you have to do and how your heart has all the knowledge that it needs that will actually work really well for you. Okay, let's get you some stars to also guide your way, pile 2. Opposition. So you may feel sometimes that you're kind of like dealing with the past and the present. I think that there is an opposition of moving from what hasn't worked to what will work. We will have a look at the planets around that, but there's something you need to bring into balance, which I think your heart, this is why you're spilling these things. What knowledge is working for you anymore? What are you trusting and not trusting in your intuition? We have the waxing crescent moon, which is about setting your intentions. Yeah, set your intentions about what you want to bring in. The time is right to do that. And Libra, yeah, bringing things into balance. Trusting and letting your mind help you. And also other people, I think. You know, even though we weren't seeing sharing of the energy there, I think this is something social, something that connects with others. Let's just deal out till we get a couple of planets for the opposition, just to see what that energy is for you. Saturn, yeah, so the past lives, the sort of what has or hasn't worked in the past, and Chiron, what you can heal. I think you have to allow yourself to heal. Sandalphon will help with that. Allow your heart to heal. I think that the thing about having a kind of soul energy of romance is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, but it's so easy to potentially get sort of knocked around by the world. And you're meant to actually achieve this time around. So it's understanding. The healing comes through releasing the energy, learning from it, trusting your intuition, and moving to the necessity of what you're bringing in. So to close out pile 2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a card from the Secret Language of Light. And this is meant to bring together the energy for you that your soul has been talking to you about today. A unifying force. Let your light shine. Yeah, let your creativity come out. Let your heart shine. There's a lot about heart here. Certainly if you are looking for romantic love, let that happen. Trust it. Know that your intuition and your knowledge will be okay. Know that you can move through the past and heal the past and bring it into balance. Know that if you set your intentions, there is a necessity now around this. But if it isn't about romantic love, it's about some other creative thing. Go with it. Let your light shine. This is your time, pile 2. I hope that you enjoyed the reading. I hope that it resonated for you. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. Actually, I'll move that out of there. You will see that again a bit later. Welcome to your reading. What you have come to is the Guardian. So there is a sense, I think, with your soul, if you've come to this, that your soul does have a guardian ability or has a guardian role. You may well have that role in between lives, and you may also adopt it within this life as well. So, or in any given life that you have, there's some knowledge and ability and clarity that you bring to things, and there is a kind of a protection, I think, of others operating here, because the Guardian gives that sense overall. And then you have two very interesting and different sorts of crucibles that your soul may have developed through in terms of lives. One here is sort of Hawaii, showing the goddess Pele. And so this is anywhere from AD 100 to the present. This is all about creation. It is all about nurturing. It's all about caring. So I think there's certainly an aspect of the guardian role where you have been a nurturing, caring, creative sort of person, for family, for friends, for lovers, for children, whatever it might be, for social groups and so forth. There's a deep inner life associated with this, and a high attunement to nature. There is also almost the more artifice, and not artifice in a bad way, but this is showing a life potentially in Elizabethan England or something around that sort of time. So that's the time of courtly love, of medieval politics, of all of those sort of things. And what is accentuated here in this sort of culture is sort of being articulate, being verbal, being well educated, being writers, teachers, bringing clarity and that kind of romantic sort of concept. So this is more earthy and this is more romantic. I feel like you've taken on a guardian role depending upon the environment you're in. So I feel as though in this sort of life, it was more around a kind of social construct of being a guardian over sort of families and so forth. And in this one, you may well have had some sort of protective role over your family or others in a much more political environment, and where your knowledge and your capacity to communicate was important. Now, the interesting thing is that feels very creative, and here we have Uriel, angel of flame and angel of creativity. So I think that there is definitely a sense that there is a brilliance about you that allows you to be a guardian and a guide in whatever environment you're in, and you're likely to be doing that in this life as well. You also have great kindness and empathy. And I feel like that the kind of brilliance of dexterity of dealing with politics, and then the kindness and the true nurturing are coming from those sort of lives, but they're both aspects of how you guard others. Hesed is the Sephiroth in the Tree of Life that is about kindness. It is about caring and so forth, and empathy, as this says. So there is definitely a sense that you are a guardian that can deal with the environments that you're in and help others and kind of permeate that. Your soul is able to work out what is necessary in the environment. The interesting thing is the archetype that your soul wants you to concentrate on the moment is the pilgrim. So I feel as though there is almost an invitation to you in your soul development at the moment to think about where you would journey next, either to find a guardian and guide of your own, or what is your next charge? What is your next cause? What is your next group that you are meant to be the guardian over? How do you find them spiritually? Is it in the realm of politics and creativity, or is it in the realm of society, family, love? There is something here, or is it in a different realm altogether? Is there something else that you're meant to be doing? Is it much more purely spiritual, and you're now meant to be less about guarding others and more about your own personal mystical quest? So I think we'll sort of see more with tarot, but I think there is a calling to you now to work out what your next journey is, what your next destination is for your spiritual pathway. So with tarot, let's firstly have a look at what is the long-range arc of your spirit path. Given that you seem to have had this role where I think you've kind of come in and looked after others, kind of like an earth angel type of energy or something, what are you meant to journey for? Is it for the next set of charges that you are looking after, or is it for something for yourself? So let's see what the long range arc is meant to be for your spirit. Page of Swords is communication. You're very, very good with communication. The Star, and people see you as inspirational as well. Four of Pentacles reversed. Queen of Swords reversed. Four of Wands reversed. I do think that your soul is saying to you, it is time for you to maybe detach a bit from the kind of political environments that you might often find yourself in, the kind of like conflict. I think you're good at dealing with conflict, particularly from this life, but it's also from this deep empathy. I think that this is saying you're meant to go on a pilgrimage away from that is no longer what your foundation is meant to be. You're now meant to find your story, your knowledge, your quest, and follow your North Star. So I think that you have done a lot for others, and you've done it in this, and you've had that kind of like guardian energy, and you probably will always do that to some extent with people. But this is saying it is time to go on a journey, not to stay stuck where you are, whatever that journey means to you, whether it's an internal one, an external one, or a bit of both. So your long range arc now is you are now meant to follow something for you. There is a story that you need to tell eventually, but you have focused so much on looking after others and being their guardian and their guide. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, having done that, but it's not the thing that's going to take you forward now. You just stay in conflict if you do that you need to follow your own North Star. So let's see what in this particular life, if that's your long range arc, you've spent so much time doing this, and you're now meant to kind of course correct and go on your pilgrimage. What is the key message for this life, pile 3? Seven of Cups, Knight of Cups reversed, Queen of Wands, the Tower. This is a big life of change. And some of the conflict that you get drawn into the change that comes, with Tower energy. And you're very, very good at it. So, and this is sort of saying you're very, very good at it. But at this point in your life, you should fall a little bit out of love with the sense of needing to lead through chaos, and fall a little bit more in love with what your dream is. It's not self-sacrificial in the sense that some spiritual things are of being a martyr, but I think that you are a warrior. And I think that is part of the guardianship. It's like you are a warrior to protect. And you can do it in various ways. And you have been doing it in this life. You're very, very good at it. But it's like saying you've fallen out of love with your own dream. So this is the pilgrimage. It may be that eventually the two roads lead together, and if you follow your dream, you then find the true thing that you want to protect through change, and you want to have rise phoenix-like. But you have to go on this journey within for what you love first, because you put that aside. So what right now is important in what you've been leading up to in the last few weeks to now seeing this reading to the next few weeks? What would Spirit really, your soul would really want you to look at? The Moon, Temperance, Two of Swords. Yeah, you need to make the decision to bring these things into balance, uncover this, bring it to the surface. I think sometimes what we have to understand when we do always put, like our charges, our sort of like our causes first, we might lose the point and we lose the decision making. We have to bring this up to the surface. You're meant to really look at this, really get in touch with it emotionally, bring that into balance, because you're so good at this other stuff that you could stay doing it and feel like, well, I'm following my life path. That's who I am. But there's more to you. And you can't make that decision until you bring this to the surface and bring it into being. Okay, so to help you, we're going to get some Archangel energy. So we're going to get one first for the current life, and then some of the energy from this sort of past lives that your soul has thought was important to this. And for each of them, we're also going to get some alchemical advice. So firstly, for the current life, where you are a guardian, and you may eventually return to being it, but you need to find your own pilgrimage first. The Archangel watching over you is Shamael. So yeah, what is in your heart? You don't always have to be the warrior. You can put down your sword for a while. I think you'll pick it up at some point. I think it's part of who you are. And I think you'll do it in protection of that you love. But you've got to get back into contact with what you love. So let's see how Shamael, as the sort of heart angel, the love angel, how can she help you alchemize this energy and get on your pilgrimage? Pile 3. Metamorphosis. Yeah, there's a big change. It's a big shift. And it's one that's necessary. It's within you, but it's necessary. Now, I had this and I took this away. This is a dice for this particular deck, and it shows you whether this energy is something that you should drink in, whether it's something you should spill and look at to decide what is worth keeping, or whether it's something that you should share with others. So let's see what Shamael wants here. This metamorphosis that you're going through how does she think you need to alchemize it? Spill it and see. Yeah, like let it happen. Let the tower fall. Let all the responsibility fall. Let the metamorphosis occur. That which is vital to you and part of your pilgrimage will arise. It will arise from connecting with your heart, pile 3. So let's have a look at the connection here to the nurturing side of guardianship. The Archangel around you is Raziel, very connected to the mysteries. This is why you're a guardian. Like that is connected to Chokmah, which is the divine intellect, and the first Sephiroth the second Sephiroth, the first Sephiroth from Keter, so the second Sephiroth of the Kabbalah. So the mysteries, there is something about understanding the mysteries that has made you a natural guardian and made you be able to be in all these different sorts of roles and take on different sorts of roles. But what would Raziel like you to focus on alchemically for your soul? Paradox. Okay, there's a paradox, and this is the wisdom to help you look at the paradox. I think the paradox is that you will always be a guardian, but right now in your soul's evolution, you have to go on the pilgrimage to find your heart again, and then you will find the next phase and the next level of your guardianship. But you have to walk away from what you feel is, something that you're responsible for almost. Whether it's very literal or whether it's sort of like you just need to find time for yourself to be able to really go through the metamorphosis. So let's see what Raziel thinks you need to do with his wisdom, with the help of his wisdom, to look at this paradox. Share. Okay. The way that you can do this is share this with others. It could be through a major relationship. It could also be through realizing that if you're going to be able to go on your pilgrimage, someone else might need to take up the role of being the guardian over what you protect at the moment. If you share that, you share the fact that you will ultimately return to do this, but at the moment you can only do it to its best if you've allowed your own metamorphosis. That can help you do it and talk it through, talk it through. Remember over here, being articulate, being knowledgeable and all that kind of thing certainly helps you. So find some people to talk it through if it's difficult to work out the way. So then when we're also looking at that sort of creative, clever, more political and strategic sort of experience that you've had of being a guardian, the archangel for that is Sachiel. It's really interesting that she's come up there because this is, in a sense, the strategic sort of energy. This is understanding that the choices that you make, the pilgrimage you go on, how you do it, and maybe how you share some of that energy. You reap what you sow. She can help you. She can help you to, she is kind of being portrayed here as a gypsy sort of energy, sort of the traveler, the pilgrim, but she will also help you manifest and have the resources you need to do this. But it is important to be pure of heart, that the metamorphosis is always about that. Let's see. And this is, I think, what you would naturally do anyway, because I think you have such a sense of responsibility for others. And with a real reason, you really are a guardian for people. But she will help you have the resources on the road. So what does she want you to alchemize? Knowledge. So you have a lot of knowledge, and it's interesting, in knowledge, learning, being able to sort of speak your truth, all of those sort of things. She thinks that you're clever enough, you have the knowledge, you know how to do this. So let's see what she thinks you should do with the energy of knowledge. Share it. Okay, sharing the knowledge, sharing the paradox. Raziel's knowledge and her strategic knowledge, sharing that, share the paradox, share the knowledge. I think that most of you have someone who could, in fact, take up, as I say, what you're doing, take up that role while you move on. So it could be as simple as you've been a manager in an organization, it's time for you to go on a sabbatical, for instance, and there is someone who could step up and you can share that energy and that knowledge with them, and therefore you can have the metamorphosis and then eventually return with what you've got from your pilgrimage. That's just an example, but I think this is definitely saying that there are other people to connect in with this to get the best outcome. So let's see what the stars tell you as well, pile 3. Venus. There is love in the heart, and this could be about going on the pilgrimage to find your true love, because you've been sort of always putting your sort of responsibility first. We've also got Mercury, the mind, the communication, the sharing of information and knowledge, your heart and your mind, the metamorphosis around that. How do you now use them in your pilgrimage, pile 3? And Aquarius, being a little bit detached. You have some really big ticket transpersonal caring for others to do, but there is a kind of need to detach a bit now so that you can actually recalibrate those energies. What is your message? What is your heart? Okay, so to finish off, just to give you a kind of unifying concept and advice from your soul so that you do free yourself. You get the help and you share your knowledge and the paradox with others so you can free yourself enough to go on your pilgrimage without feeling that you are letting anything or anyone down. What final piece of advice does your soul have for you? Insight. Okay. I think this is just saying, you have everything within to know how to do this. Go within. That's where the answers will be. That's where the archangels will connect with you, all of that sort of thing. You've brought this in. You're very knowledgeable. You're very able to be in very many different worlds. But like the insight will also tell you that it is time. It is time for you to have your own pilgrimage, pile 3. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope what the soul had to say to you today was helpful. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.